Wednesday, January 2nd. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we talk about the 5th strongest man on Mipross Island.
Let's do this.
So, one interesting thing did come out of the weekend of, craziness here at the Geek House, other than the fact that I barely made it into work this morning.
I'll go to bed right after we finish this show. Well, I might do some stuff before then, but not long after this show is done recording, I am going to sleep.
Today was rough, I'll put it that way.
I was sleeping on the train, sleeping at work, sleeping on the train. I should have stayed home.
But actually, at the party, our friend Nuri came. Everyone in the front row crew came. We had a big party, and she presents to us this box. I don't know what's in this box.
I don't want to talk about this.
You don't want to talk about it?
I don't care.
We have to talk about it.
Why?
Because she brought it. It's here. It's sitting in front of me.
It's put in a closet or something. Throw it out, sell it on eBay. I don't know.
If you really don't care, I won't talk about it.
All right.
Okay,
Let's
then.
not talk about it then. So, I was at the post office today, and, I tried to go to the post office.
I don't care about this.
Okay, we won't talk about that either.
You're going to say that some fat lady got in front of you in line. You had to wait.
No, I was also going to talk about selling stuff on eBay.
Oh.
Yeah. I sold something on eBay, and you know what I figured out? It's, unless you are, super poor, it is not worth it to sell stuff on eBay. I mean, I sold some RAM I had lying around that was still good, but I had no use for it, and I figured this will get some money. The amount of money I got versus the amount of trouble I had to go through to sell it, even if there had been no line at the post office, not worth it.
So you're saying that it would have been more economical to throw the RAM away than to sell it on eBay?
Maybe not economical because I have a salary job.
You realize economical includes your opportunity cost of your time and that sort of thing.
Then yes, it would have been more economical for me to throw the RAM away.
See, I have never bought anything on eBay, and I've never sold anything on eBay.
Buying things on eBay isn't so bad if you can get a deal, because people always think, oh, eBay scams, and yeah, there are scams there, but they're generally obvious, and every time I've ever bought something on eBay, I've always successfully received it. I mean, we got that Dune game, right? Perfect. So, yeah. But selling stuff on eBay?
Well, almost perfect. There's some creepy wax seals on a bunch of the spice, and I don't know why that's there.
I'm not worried about that.
Why are there wax seals on the spice?
I don't know. Did it prevent it from flowing?
I can't wait to talk about the Dune game.
We'll talk about the Dune game in a few weeks. We got some hot stuff next week.
We should play some more two-player Dune. I can be the Harkonnen.
How about not?
All right, so what do you got in the anime, manga, comic news then?
Oh, God. I don't want to do this news because it's such a shit news, but there really isn't anything else to talk about. So I'd rather do the shit news than the nothing news. And, we've been laying on some Underwear Pervert love lately. So now we got to lay back on 5 times the Underwear Pervert hate. You ready?
All right, I'm ready.
Okay. Spider-Man?
Yeah, guy shoots webs. He had 1, possibly 2 good movies, and I don't like anything else Spider-Man.
Right. Well, there was a recent story in Spider-Man, right? And the story goes like this. Remember recently Spider-Man, revealed himself to the world?
No.
Oh, well, Spider-Man revealed himself to the world, a year ago, months ago.
Okay.
So the story now is this. I'm going to try to sum it up in as few words as possible. If you actually care about Spider-Man, first of all, how are you a Geeknights fan? And second of all, tough shit.
So, did something happen to our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man?
Listen to this, right? Look, take what I'm about to describe to you as sort of a story, right? And sort of examine this story from the perspective of someone who is like an author, someone who is judging good writing from bad writing, right? Not from the perspective of underwear perverts, right? Okay, so Spider-Man revealed himself to the world, and his Aunt May, who by all means should have been dead 100 years ago, because she must be 300 years old by now, gets shot by a sniper and is in the hospital, but not dead, this crazy old woman. So Spider-Man really wants her to come back to life. So he goes to Iron Man. He says, Iron Man, give me some money. And Iron Man's like, blah, I can't help you. But
why not? Iron Man has money.
But then Iron Man gives him money anyway.
So why did that didn't even matter?
Right. And then that still isn't helping, right? The old lady's going to die. So he goes and Mephisto shows up, who's effectively Satan. Spider-Man makes a deal with Satan. And makes a deal with Satan. that the old lady doesn't die, but basically Spider-Man and his wife both forget their marriage, like as if it never happened.
That is perhaps the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. And the thing is,
why
it's
does
so
Mephisto
dumb.
care about Spider-Man's marriage? Who's he even married to?
Mary Jane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But anyway, it's so stupid that even the underwear perverts don't like it. Like, if there's a poll on, the comic nerd news website that's like, do you think this was good? And it's like 9,000. This is the worst thing ever. Like 100. This is great. So I just want to point out that I really think this has revealed to me the fundamental problem with the underwear pervert comics, especially the ones that tend to be in the U.S., Marvel, DC, that go on forever and ever and ever and ever.
Bad
right?
writing, bad plot, run out of stuff to do?
No, it's that they have a status quo, right? This is what Spider-Man is. He's this and he's this and he's this, right? And you really can't tell a story, right, with any drama or excitement or suspense or anything. You can't have any feeling in any sort of narrative without somehow threatening the status quo and eventually changing it, right? And Spider-Man, over the years, they changed the status quo. There was one girlfriend, and then she actually died, and then his friends died, and then he got married, and the status quo changed and changed and changed, right? But then, once the status quo got to, it's been in like one place for a long time now. And all the stories, all the stories ever do is change the status quo, change it back, change it back again, change it back again. So now, because they've run out of things to do, they went back to the original status quo of like 1960, whatever. And pretty much every underwear pervert story you look at is change it, go bring it back. Superman, remember? They killed Superman in like the 90s. Now Superman's just fine. Batman, at one point, like Batman broke his back and was in a wheelchair. Now Batman's just fine. Robin leaves. They bring in a new Robin. Robin dies. They bring in a new Robin.
I think what they bank on here, and I remember recognizing this as a kid. This is one of the reasons I'd never wanted to read underwear pervert comics, was that I'd look, and every time someone told me about a comic or they were excited about comic books and something happened, it would always be something like, oh man, you won't believe what they did to Cyclops this time.
And meanwhile, now Cyclops is just fine.
Yeah.
Jean Grey, dead and alive.
It wasn't even that they're just fine later. It's that it seems like all that people were just like, oh my God, so-and-so got married to so-and-so. And it wasn't the writing. It wasn't really the story. It was just the actual something happened. And the thing that happened is the only thing everyone cared about. And they rabble about it. And then they'd get rid of that thing.
Yeah, because basically all the fans of these things, they're just somehow mentally attached to these, iconic characters for whatever reason. And they care so much about these characters more than they care about real human beings. And anything that happens to these characters is a big deal, even though they know that the characters will always return to the status quo.
It's not like anime is any different, or manga. I mean, look at One Piece and Bleach and Naruto. You hear someone talk about oh man, so-and-so fought so-and-so, and so-and something
That's true.
happened.
They do like it for the same reasons. But if you look at the plot of even something like Naruto, right? The plot doesn't stay at some status quo. It's continually moving forward incredibly slowly, in tiny, tiny bits, And it's like, even though you see what's coming a mile away, it comes eventually at some point, And they keep moving around. Even Pokemon. Eventually, he's the Pokemon master. Eventually. It does happen at some point. And then they don't go and make him the Pokemon master so they can do it again. They just keep moving forward incredibly slowly. So it never changes too much to throw the status quo off so much that people will go, what is this bullshit? But they do keep moving forward, so at least it's a little bit better, even when it's crap like Naruto.
So Spider-Man is... Now, wait a minute. They were married, right?
Yep.
So the rest of the world knew they were married. So does Spider-Man just not remember, but everyone else does?
It's, I don't know. I didn't actually read this comic.
What about the paperwork? There's all that paperwork that he got married with. It's still there.
Yeah, it's just, they just go, bleh, whatever. It's a comic book. I only read the summary on Wikipedia, all right? I'm not actually reading the shit comic.
See, I think that quip is actually very illuminating into some of the fundamental problems. Oh, it's just a comic book. All right, we don't have to worry anymore. That explains that.
Yeah, I mean, They don't bother with details like that. They have a thing they want to do, and then they just find a way to do it. They don't actually. The thing is, the guy who actually wrote the story posted a thing like, "Yeah, I let everyone know that I thought this was a dumb idea, but that's what they pay me for, so I did it." And they're all blaming it on the editor, and the editor's like, "Yeah, I did it. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do." Blah.
Man, if you want to read a comic book, just read Bone.
Yeah,
Because I'm finally reading Bone,
Good
all
guy.
of it, and it's great.
it's great.
I always knew it was great. It's one of those things I'd always see it and go, "Oh, that's that Bone thing."
The problem is
it's
there's a
great.
1,000 things like that. What do you do?
Read them all, and the way I do that is by not reading anything else.
What happens if you don't finish before and you die first?
I think I'm doing okay so
You
far.
think you're doing all right?
I think by not watching Bleach, Naruto, One Piece, TV, or
Spider-Man.
or Spider-Man. I only even saw the first Spider-Man movie. I liked it, but I heard the second one's good. I heard the third one's stupid.
Yeah, who knows?
So,
Whatever.
speaking of Spider-Man,
Spider-Man.
the Japanese released the top 10 manga of 2007, according to a bunch of retailers.
All right, so these are what? Retailers in Japan selling tankobon? We're not counting like Shonen Jump sales or anything, right?
You know, it's the Anime News Network, and they don't say, and their source is in Japanese, so that doesn't help me.
I think that's a safe assumption we can make, though, if it's retailers and they're getting the individual manga titles. Because, I mean, if you counted Shonen Jumps, how do you do that? You got to count everything in Shonen Jump once for every Shonen Jump sold? That doesn't...
Yep, and then the problem there is that, all
And
right.
then add the tankobon on top of that?
All right, but anyway, they went through, it's like the Book of the Year Action Committee. I don't need to read the bottom of this, but a bunch of stores. And the list is One Piece, Nana, Nodame Cantabile, Naruto, Full Metal Alchemist, Hunter x Hunter, Bleach, D. Gray Man, etc. And
makes sense.
I don't know. I can't really, I don't think many of these are good.
No, many of them are not good.
Hunter x Hunter was particularly dumb.
Have you read the manga? I haven't. I've only seen like one episode of the anime.
I've heard it's really dumb from more than one person who I trust.
I watched the first episode of the D. Gray Man anime. That was pretty dumb.
Yeah, Nana's great, but One Piece is on top of it. And One Piece is only good in theory.
One Piece, some of it's good, and most of it's just fights.
Now, I've heard Nodame Cantabile is actually really good. And
Yeah, that is.
I
It's-
want to
it's-
read it.
Yeah, that's about the girl in the music school or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
it's supposed to be good.
so how's that Naruto?
Popular. I mean, think about this though, right? Dragon Ball is like the most popular manga there ever was, and it.
Oh, wait a minute. One Piece number 46 is number 1. Nana number 18 is number 2.
They're individual volumes.
Naruto 37, FMA 17. Okay.
Oh, now I see what's going on here.
I see what you did there.
All right, what are the other ones there?
So I have a question because I didn't actually read any of it. The Full Metal Alchemist manga.
It's average manga.
Is it better or worse than the show?
It's just different.
Is it worth it?
If you got time.
Is it actually worth it? Are you still reading it? Are you going to finish it?
Yeah, I sort of like, it's weird because every time I pick up a volume, I sort of just start reading it. And it's just like, tee hee 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 hee. And I barely even remember like what happened in the previous volume, and it doesn't really matter either.
Huh. I'm just curious because I realized just now that I just never even read it. I just didn't.
Yeah, I have all of it that's in English. I'm just sort of buying it somewhat out of habit, but it's not bad. It's just, it's not something like, it's not Tezuka quality or anything.
Number 9 is Katekyo Hitman Reborn.
That's actually really funny.
Yes,
I thought.
it is.
I think is, I don't know, there's a lot of those comedy mangas and things other than GOG Manga VRE. They're sort of like one-hit wonders, is where it's like I could watch an episode of Hitman Reborn, maybe 2 episodes, or read one volume of the manga, and reading a second volume of the manga would just not be funny anymore. It's like, okay, I've seen the joke. It's over. Funny little Hitman. Yes, I get it.
Yep. But then there was the Gonagai Chibikara world, which didn't even have any jokes.
Yeah, I think it had insider jokes for Gonagai fans, and that was it.
But it had a plot, which kind of took the thunder out of all of that.
It sure did.
So, last bit of news here, just to pan this out, because our news were both kind of lame. And what
Super
do you
lame
want?
news.
Our
What do you
choice
want?
is Anime News Network or make something up.
Yeah, there's not too much.
So, GOG Manga BRE is, for the 8th year running, the number 1 media in the world.
Yes.
But this will be real quick, but I just want to point out that it's a new year, and with the new year comes the new con season. And the first con of the season for us every year is Katsucon.
Well, starting last year.
Yeah, well, yeah, I went to Katsucon for 2 years before that.
I
because
did not.
Katsucon was my third favorite con. It is now my second favorite con, and it might someday become my first favorite con.
Oh, it might be. I think it might have been the best con last year, maybe.
Well, what really helps Katsucon is that it's not better than Otakon, it's just different.
It's better for us because, mostly that video game room.
If you are between the ages of 17 and 30, Katsucon is probably the best anime con for you to go to.
Especially if you're between 21 and 100.
Yes, because it has
Even though I don't care about it.
No, but the most important thing is that the bar at the con is really classy, and if you're one of those people who's single and is going to anime cons, you want to meet people, you can go into the bar and basically be guaranteed to not break laws.
Yep.
Anyway, Katsucon, as you know, is the con where we do a lot of shit, to put it lightly. Pretty much Kineticon, we do 1 million panels, and Katsucon, we kind of started high and are ramping it up every year.
Yep, so Katsucon is February 15, 16, and 17. It's coming up pretty quick. If you haven't gotten a hotel already, I don't think you're going to.
The Overflow Hotel has rooms still. However, the Overflow Hotel, you have to go over a bridge, and the bridge sucks, but might be worth it.
But getting a badge is not difficult to this con.
It might be worth it, though. I can tell you this. Geeknights, we've announced in the forums. You can see the schedule there. I'm not going to read all of our events, but we are doing at least 7 events at Katsucon.
We have rocked houses before. We have never rocked a house quite so hard as the Katsucon house will be rocked by
Pretty
us.
much. Friday night from 9 o'clock to 1 in the morning is all Geek Nights.
Oh, no.
And Saturday night.
Great.
This is going to be epic.
Yes, it's in D.C. in the hotel I forget the name of. It's in a hotel in D.C.
Yeah, it's Katsucon. Google it. Go to it. It's a great con.
Yep.
Pretty much, if you live anywhere near D.C., you have no excuse to not go for at least one day.
Yeah, at least just go Saturday if you live near. I don't and if you.
Well, no, go Friday because Friday night is when the biggest business will happen.
Oh, okay. I thought Saturday night would be the biggest business.
Well, Friday night is our biggest business.
Okay, sure. We're gonna get there Thursday and leave Monday.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Anyway, things of the day. Now, some of you might be cool enough to already be listening to this band, but if you're not, here we go. So, you like Freddie Mercury? Yeah, you a good artist, you think?
Yeah, maybe.
Was a good artist, maybe?
Greatest live rock singer ever.
Possibly. Well, there is, in fact, a band and a singer that, while they're not quite Freddie Mercury level, they're very reminiscent of Freddie Mercury.
I don't really think so.
A lot of the songs are. One of the songs is a pretty much straight-up tribute to fat bottom girls.
I don't know. Just because it has a similar subject, it's not really a similar song, nor does the guy quite give me a Freddie Mercury vibe.
Have you listened to all their music?
No.
Oh, well, there you go.
But
It just so happens that the one I'm linking to is not quite the perfect example of that. However, this music video is pretty hot, and I'm going to...
The music video is awesome regardless of how closely it resembles Freddie Mercury or not.
I am going to piss off Daryl Surratt and say that this music video is definitely super flat.
Uh-oh.
This music video is super flat.
Oh,
It
no.
is. It is super flat.
It's more Yellow Submarine.
Yeah, but it's too well animated and it's super flat.
Yellow Submarine is well animated.
Not as well as this. There were no computers back then.
Okay.
This is pretty terrific, and you should see it. If you can find a non-YouTube version somewhere, or, I don't know, any sort of non-YouTubeified thing, because there's a lot going on in the animation that YouTube really can't show you.
Yeah.
But regardless, watching it in YouTube is still okay, because this music video is probably in my top 10 now.
You could probably BitTorrent or something, right? I don't know.
I'm sure it's out there.
All right, my thing of the day. Initial D. The arcade game. You know it. It exists. There have been 4 versions of this game. Version 1, kind of bleh. Version 2, kind of bleh. Version 3, amazing. Version 4, even more amazing than version 3, if you didn't think that was possible.
Yep, I think I talked about that a little bit when I was, when I went back to Rochester for that weekend. I went to Hammer Girl, and sure enough, the initial D machine was a lot bigger and had LCDs, and when I tried to do my classic go down the mountain real fast, I crashed into every single wall because it was completely different.
Yep. And I think it might be, if not already, quickly approaching being, I assume there'll be a 5 and a 6 and a whatever, the greatest arcade racing game there is. And I don't mean, physically in the arcade, even though that is also true. I mean arcade style, as in the style of driving is arcade style driving, which means Virtua Racing may be dethroned, or maybe not. But regardless, in Japan, the land of all the greatest things in the world that never go anywhere else, they have made a special version, a limited release of Initial D4. It's the same game that you would play Initial D4 in your local arcade, but it's the special edition. And, well, you will see in this video exactly why this is a special edition of Initial D4, not the regular edition.
If I am ever idly wealthy to the point where I just live a life of decadent, powdered decadence, I will purchase some sort of device similar to what Scott is going to show you in this video.
I'll just let you watch the video on your own.
This is epic.
Even if you don't like Initial D and you don't care about cars or racing video games, you should see this just as an example of that's how Japan does it. And the U.S. really doesn't do that, and that's why they suck.
Oh, Scott, I would just like to point out that the BBC talks at length in 2 different articles about how Mika is, in fact, the reincarnation of Freddie Mercury.
Whatever.
And apparently, he recorded something recently on Freddie Mercury's piano.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Freddie Mercury had more than one piano.
Well, one of Freddie Mercury's pianos.
I'll have to go look into this, because I don't see it.
I think you should listen to more of his music before you say anything.
Maybe.
Anyway, so, we haven't talked about anime in a while, have we? Not so much.
No, we haven't watched any anime either, so what the hell are we going to do?
Well, I guess it works out that we've been reading a lot of comics suddenly. I guess it's comic season.
Yeah, we're making up for back in the day when you used to do 100 anime shows and no comic shows.
Yeah, I think the real problem is the only show I'm excited about now is Bakano, and I haven't watched enough of it.
Maybe we should, Netflix one of those shows that, from back. Like maybe the Ergo Proxy or something. Did that finish coming out? Or
I assume so.
Or did did their going out of business prevent that?
I got to watch the rest of that show because I really like that show. And the thing is, I remember Ergo Proxy was coming out. We're watching it. And I got to the point, I'm like, wow, I'm suddenly bored with this. If the next episode doesn't kick it into high gear, I'm done. And then the next episode kicked it up into high gear and I was hooked again.
Yeah, all right, check the Netflix for that. Maybe we can watch it.
See, the thing is, when are we going to watch the Netflix? You know what the next anime in the queue is? Kaze no Yojimbo.
Oh, that's a good one.
Which,
at least I saw 4 episodes and they were good.
And you know what's in the queue right now? You know what's sitting in front of the Mac right now?
Huh?
Gankotsuo, the last disc that we still haven't watched.
All right. Well, this weekend, we're not doing anything.
Maybe it's like the more things we do at anime cons, the less anime we watch. I have a feeling that if we start doing main events at Otakon, we'll never watch anime again.
Maybe.
It's kind of like at RIT. The more we did with the anime club, the less anime we watched. And pretty much if you graphed, level in the anime club hierarchy versus amount of anime watched, the limit at infinity is 0 and such like that.
Yeah, you would think that, you go to an anime con, right? And there's the people at the top of the con, like the con chairs and the guests and the industry people, right? These are the big people, right? Lots of access, lots of everything. And then there's the lowly fan who's poor. They're a high school kid, right? That little high school kid, he might be all jealous of those people at the way top, but little does he know, that little high school kid is watching 1,000 times more anime than the con chair has watched all year.
I remember when I ran the RIT Anime Club, I didn't even, we'd put on anime. We'd show people anime. And I would pretty much stand there in the back of the room after the anime started, make sure nothing blew up, and then after the music videos played, I'd leave, because I had Anime Club work to do, and it sucked.
Yep. The people who are making all this stuff happen are actually doing work, and that's why, everyone thinks, oh, I want to work on video games. I'll get to play video games all day. No. You'll actually play almost no video games if you work in video games.
In fact, at best, you'll play one video game that you're already sick of every day.
Yeah, if
for
your
2
job
years.
is writing comic books, you will end up reading almost no comic books compared to just being a fan. That this is the reality of geekdom. Get with it. Understand it. Anyway, what anime? Let's because we haven't watched any anime recently, but we have to do an anime show because it's mostly been comics lately. Let us talk about a show of anime from the olden days.
All right, let's talk about Escaflowne.
But I gotta watch that again because I forget it.
All right, let's talk about Dragon Half.
We could. I need a little bit of reminder though.
I think we talked about Ava.
No.
Have we ever actually talked about Cowboy Bebop?
Nope.
Huh.
It looks like we got a lot of animes to talk about.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of those I want to hold off on. But then again, that was one of the reasons why Anime World Order avoided doing all those shows for so long. And
I'll tell you what. Oh, no, never mind. See, here's the thing is this is sort of off topic. I'm delaying the main bit here, but I downloaded all those LucasArts adventure games.
That's what we need right now. You need to give me Full Throttle and Grim Fandango instead of anime.
Right, and I was just thinking, well, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to take those Ava discs and watch them on the train, and we'll be done with it. And we can do it. And, no, I'm going to be playing adventure games, sorry. Okay.
Well, at least Ava, to one thing, it's still winter, and I would like to point out that, woman, it's cold.
It's cold.
But, maybe, because I think Kate has never actually seen Ava. I think we got to have one of those old school anime marathons like Days of Yore.
But I was just thinking recently, like yesterday, because we were looking at Lord of the Rings on the go, I would much rather watch all 3 Lord of the Rings movies because I've only seen some of them like twice.
I've only seen the third one once.
Oh my god!
But I've seen
the third one 3 times.
But I've seen the first one 3 times.
I saw the first one 2 times and the second one 1.5 times.
Why don't we just watch Star Wars?
Because I've seen each of those 25 times each, but I need to make it to 30 each. I'm just making up. I just making up numbers, but I'm probably not far off.
You know what? Then we'll watch Snatch, followed by Attack the Gas Station.
I've seen Attack the Gas Station, I think 7 times. I'm pretty sure of that. Okay, so we need an anime. What do we talk about?
Well, we talked about a while ago Slayers because
The TV series.
Because surprisingly,
with Copy Rezo.
Scott had never seen Slayers.
I saw like an episode or 2.
Yeah, but it was one of my favorite shows. So we got it. We watched it all back when we had no responsibilities and infinite money. You know, those days are long gone.
Copy Rezo.
Slayer still wins the award for one. It has a character who pretty much right away takes a sweat drop and beats someone over the head with it.
Yep.
And 2, when the evil bad guy in like the climactic part is doing his ritual and the good guys come to stop him, he just runs away into another room, locks the door, and finishes the ritual immediately.
I love that part. That's how it's got to go down. Villains, learn none of the sharks lasers shit, all right? If you're going to set off a bomb or send a drill to the middle of the earth or fire a laser at the moon, fucking push the goddamn button immediately as soon as you can, because otherwise it ain't going to happen.
But we talked about the Slayers TV show, and I don't think we talked a lot about the OAVs and the movie.
Well,
here's the
thing.
Different.
Here's the thing with Slayers, right? If you watch Slayers Next, or Slayers Try, these are TV series. They have a lot of episodes, right? They follow the adventures of Lena Inverse and her companions Gowry and Zelos and
Amelia, Prince Phil,
and such and such. It's a D&D adventuring party plus mostly comedy, going around fighting villains, you know, having inns get destroyed, etc. Right? But there are also Slayers OAVs and Slayers movies, and the Slayers OAVs and Slayers movies are also about Lena Inverse, but they are not about Zelos or Amelia or Gowry or any of those other characters. They're basically not even there.
This is from way before she met any of those people.
Yep.
She was palling around with Naga the White Serpent.
Naga the Serpent. Are you going to make the laugh?
I don't think I can. I think I
it
hurt
goes
myself.
something like this. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I can't do it.
The thing is, you know these people. It's the Fujiko laugh. There are so many evil women in anime with like the finger next to the mouth, and they make that laugh. And she's one of those laughers.
And she has giant boobs, which aren't there for perverted reasons. They're there for funny reasons.
Unless you read the manga.
If you read the manga, they're there for perverted reasons. But then again, the manga also uses Lena Inverse's non-existent breasts for, you know, perverted reasons.
You know
Yet,
what, though?
in all the animations, they take the breasts and they keep them there and use them for comedic reasons. It's like, in manga, perverted jokes about tiny breasts. Anime, hilarious jokes about tiny breasts.
I mean, actually,
I don't know how they did it.
The way I would describe it is thusly. If you watch the Slayers TV shows, they're really funny, but there's a story, and it's kind of it kind of edges into serious territory, and it never
At times.
It never gets all the way serious, but it gets real close, and there's moments where you forget it's a comedy, and you get really into it. You're like, oh man, and then suddenly something stupid happens, and oh crap, Slayers.
It's
whee!
an adventure story, but in the parts of the adventure story where there isn't great tension and great immediate evil and stuff like that, as the plot progresses, they toss in jokes, and that's why it's
Now,
fun.
granted, it has this syndrome where, a lot of shows roller coaster between really funny and really serious, and they kind of skirt a lot. Like Full Metal Alchemist did that a lot.
Yep.
Like, oh, our mom's dead. Oh, he's really short.
Yeah, Slayers doesn't do that so badly.
Well, it does that more and more as you follow. Like, Slayers Next is more serious than Slayers, but also funnier. Slayers Try is really, really, really goofy at times, and yet at the same time, it goes so far into serious territory that you really don't know what you're watching. But then, instead of gradually coming back into funny, they pretty much will give you the plot of an epic anime and then effectively ruin it suddenly with a really lame joke.
But anyway,
It still works, though.
today we're going to talk about specifically, I think, we're going to talk about Slayers, the movie. Slayers, the motion picture. The Slayers movie, period. If there's more than one Slayers movie, we're talking about the first one.
This is the one,
It's
1995.
Yeah, it's called Slayers, the motion picture. That's what it's called.
This was, if anyone in America talks about the Slayers movie, they're talking about this. Now, the Slayers OAVs in movies, especially the OAVs, are a lot like this. They have a different feel, a different tone, a different theme, and it's Lena, the same character you know and love, but I don't know, everything's kind of goofier, a little more perverted, a little funnier, but it's not really funnier, just a different kind of funny.
Yeah, and there isn't so much serious action going on because you're only gonna, it's gonna be over so quickly. They just sort of tell as many jokes as they can, and because Naga the Serpent there, she's pretty much only useful for comedy, except for that, it's sort of like a buddy movie, it's one of those, instead of a party adventure, it's sort of a buddy tale where, I'm the good guy trying to save the day, whatever, and funny shit happens to me. Oh, but there's this bitch who comes along and fucks with me and makes fun of me and I fight with her. But in the end, when the real villain comes along, we team up and then we make fun of each other again in the end.
Now, the Slayers motion picture that we're talking about kind of skirts the line between the OAVs and the show, because the OAVs, I think my favorite one is Slayers Gorgeous, which, let's say
Giant golems?
it is not the most plot-tacular anime.
It's also pretty short.
But the motion picture is goony and funny, and in fact, I'll get to this, but it's actually super full of all these inside jokes. A lot of them, I think, are actually dub-specific, but there's a lot of kind of anime industry crossover inside jokes in the Slayers motion
Like all
picture.
the octopuses.
Or the Slime Hath, or Joy Rock. But at the same time, the plot of the Slayers movie, comedy aside, is actually really kind of touching and sad and well done, and it's kind of this two-headed beast where it's a really funny movie.
So let me tell you the plot here that Rim thinks is so touching. You
It
ready?
has touching moments.
I gotta say, ready? They're stuck on this island. And
Well, why? Why are they at this island?
I forget, it doesn't matter.
All right, so this movie kind of opens the way a lot of those, like, we have this show and it's super popular. We're going to make the high budget movie. It has this, actually, watching the beginning of it, I felt a lot like when I watched those Sailor Moon movies back in the day, just in terms of, obviously, they're just having this high budget thing. Check it out. Oh, look, it's Lena Inverse. We're going to have her come on screen in the epic way that you all expect, and then we're going to start the movie.
Yep.
And long story short, stuff happens, and then her and Naga go on this kind of discount trip to a hot spring on an island.
Oh, right, the hot spring, yes.
Mipross Island.
I think it's Mipross Island.
Well, you realize that it's just promise.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, that was a spoiler.
Yes.
In the ancient language of the elves, the word Mipros means a promise to be kept.
Yes. Anyway, on this island, they are, there's inns exploding and there's a problem with octopuses and all sorts of other things going on. But primarily, they get accosted by the fifth strongest man on the island, I believe.
I am the fourth strongest man on Mipros Island.
Yes. And, you wonder, he's the fifth strongest man. Who's the first strongest man? I don't know. And apparently all these different strongest men of the island are all working for, the first strongest man, or you assume so. And, they fight the fifth strongest man, and the fourth, and then third, and the second, and then eventually, surprise, it's the first. And who the first is the way it's revealed, I think, is incredibly well done. And it's foreshadowed in one of those clever ways where the foreshadowing was there all along. You saw it all along. There's no way you could have known, but as soon as they reveal, you think back and you give them the finger. Who the first strongest man on Mipross Island is.
See, the thing is, this movie, the tone is just so different from every other Slayers thing, in that it's kind of got this, like, there's this undercurrent where the show is goony, and for the first half of this movie, it is just, they show up, and then these guys appear, and this little whiny guy, like, and then this big bustly guy goes, I'm the fifth strongest man on Mipross Island, and then they fight, and then there's sea cucumbers, and it's explosion arrays.
Sea cucumbers.
And it's just dumb and crazy, but yet, there's all these, like, quiet, eerie moments, and it's this undercurrent of, there's actually something bad going on here. There's something serious in this movie. There's something not quite right, and I don't know.
The island has an evil secret.
And it's not just, the evil secret is the plot in this funny movie.
No, the evil secret is actually, there's a lot of those cliche, like, one-shot adventure plots where, there's a mysterious dungeon, there's a curse on an item or whatever. And this is one of those plots, but it's actually not cheesy. Like, it would be easy to make it cheesy, but it's not a bad little one-shot adventure plot. It's pretty good.
And also, the way they resolve it in the end, it doesn't matter. It's not like, this changes the canon of Slayers and all that, but they definitely introduce an element. I don't want to really spoil because this movie is really worth watching, but it involves Gauri's magic sword and maybe his family's lineage in some way.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, it's like if you have seen other Slayers, then you can sort of like take this hint and maybe, infer something about it. Like maybe they're trying to say something. Maybe it's sort of like an inside joke. And if you don't get the inside joke, it doesn't really take away from it at all. You don't even notice. You just kind of like, no.
But really, this movie, despite all the dumb humor, it really has this kind of, it feels like a serious movie, even though it's not.
It is a above average classic anime movie that any anime fan should see.
It's also really it's very slow paced and very just kind of atmospheric and just.
It is slow paced, but then again, it's also not long. It's kind of weird. It's like if you watch this movie, you won't feel like you were sitting there for a very long time, but you'll feel like you saw a lot in a very short amount of time. But nothing feels hurried. I can't really imagine it doing it much better than that.
Now, one thing a lot of people really seem to remember from this movie, and I see it all the time. Maybe not so much now, but being an anime fan in the late '90s and all that sort of thing, when this movie was. Slayers was big for a long time, and now I realize a lot of people haven't seen Slayers, don't even know what it is, or they vaguely, they see it and they go, oh, that's Slayers thing, but no one really watches it, and a lot of people really don't remember this movie, but the song they play at the end of this movie, for some reason, I remember it being kind of a big deal, and every anime fan loved this song and listened to it all the time, and it was just Midnight Blue, Megumi Ashibara, she did all the Slayers music pretty much. Except that one god-awful in English song from Valgav in Slayer's Tribe. My baby, you don't know how much I love you, I love you.
Okay.
You don't remember that song?
No.
I played that song for you.
Don't play it for me again. It sounds bad. It sounds very bad.
But the movie, actually, if you don't want to watch the movie, you don't get you haven't seen it, you don't get how could it be this slow-paced, serious movie, and yet it's full of explosions and I'm the fourth strongest man on Mipross Island, sea cucumber smash? Listen to that song, and that song kind of really sums up the mood of this movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just looked it up. You can get the digitally remastered in 5.1 version of the Slayers motion picture for $18 on Amazon.
All right, that is totally worth it.
But it's $4.80 for a used copy.
That is... also totally worth it.
Yes, very much so.
I mean, it's
no reason not to get this one, and you can Netflix it for sure. There's
basically,
no way.
It's not the greatest movie ever made.
It's no Akira. It's no Miyazaki.
A lot of my enjoyment of this movie is definitely nostalgia and also just my love of Slayers and wanting to see more Slayers because I've seen all the Slayers I can see.
I think you're really... I don't know if this should be the first Slayers you ever watch. I think you should watch some other Slayers before you watch the Slayers.
But then again, this was... for a lot of people in our generation, the first Slayers that they saw because it was marketed.
Yeah.
It was marketed heavily, and a lot of people, the Slayers movie. And they'd see a Slayers movie, and then they'd see a pile of VHS tapes. And we were poor, and it was like $30 for 4 episodes of a subtitled anime.
Yep.
So they'd just buy the movie and watch that. And
there are worse Slayers you could watch first. You could watch that Slayers Gorgeous first. That's not a good first Slayers.
No, it's not.
But... there's also better first Slayers. I think you should at least start watching the TV show a little bit, like maybe 4 episodes at least. Then you can watch this movie because you'd understand the characters and how it's going.
This is one of those movies where really, I think everyone should see Escaflowne and Cowboy Bebop and Slayers and all these just important shows. And the OAVs of Slayers are really only for people who really like the humor of Slayers and that sort of thing, and really like these OAVs because they're goony and they're silly. But
I think the only reason that it really shouldn't be the first Slayers you watch is because a lot of the jokes, like exploding inns and stuff, they only happen once or twice in the movie, and so you'd only laugh at them as hard as you should if you knew that that's a Slayers in joke.
It's a trope.
Yes, it's a trope of Slayers. So you have to watch the TV show to get the tropes so you can laugh at them in the movie.
Plus, the movie really, I don't know what I was even going to say there.
Awesome. Slayers movie, Mipross Island. High quality.
If nothing else, it's one of those kind of, it's not like a revolutionary anime movie, but it's kind of important because it was a very popular and very well-known movie when it came out. And I feel like if you are someone who wants to have seen the full breadth of everything that there is anime out there aren't a lot of anime movies that are like this. This movie kind of stands out among the many anime movies out there.
It's kind of strange. Like if I just sort of think in my brain what other anime movie was like this, I don't come up with any. But if I feel in my gut, it feels like every anime movie is like this.
And yet they're not. And I don't know why that is.
I don't know. But maybe that's why it's so great. It's like this is the core of the awesomeness that was the anime feeling that we had when we got into anime, like 98, 99.
Yes, this movie
2000.
definitely, you will feel the late 90s anime fan nostalgia.
Yep, and if you weren't an anime fan in the late 90s, watch this and you'll see what it was like to be an anime fan in the late 90s. And the dub ain't so bad.
Well, no, the dub, this was Lisa Ortiz. She was,
on a match
Inverse.
game?
Yeah, she was on our match game. She's really awesome, but...
Subtitles are probably a little bit better, but, the dub isn't a bad dub.
Well, the thing is, and I think we've said this before a lot, but dubs from this era were not technically as good as dubs today. But at the same time, even though they weren't as accurate and they weren't as technically well done and there were problems with them, I feel like in the end, they were a lot better than the dubs of today on average. And it's definitely not the nostalgia talking. I think there was... I don't know, I think that partly just because a lot of the people who were doing the dubs back then were kind of into the anime, that certain groups of dub actors they got into the spirit of it, and it felt like they had a lot more fun making these dubs than some people now have making dubs.
Yeah, maybe you should just watch both. It's a fun enough movie. I've seen it multiple times.
Yeah, I've seen it dubbed, I've seen it subbed, The sub is technically better, but the dub has a lot of heart, and I think a lot of new anime dubs don't have that
It also has a lot
heart.
of different jokes too.
Yes, it does. The dub has some late 90s anime inside jokes that you may or may not pick up on.
It's worth it though. All right, we got anything else to say?
I'm going to bed.
Slayers,
the
motion picture.
The last of the Visigoths left our house this morning as I was going to work.
Yep.
I think it's time to get some sleep.
All right.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to Geeknights at frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.